Our first presenter is Larry O'Donnell from the Resource Center, the FHWA Resource Center in the Chicago area. He is the SNBI guru for FHWA. Anyhow, so he's going to get us started.
Well, it's been a while since I've been at the Southeast Bridge Preservation Partnership, but it's great to be back. Love to come to the South where the people are very nice. You're very nice. So to kind of carry on with Nancy's abbreviation or alphabet soup, we've got the NBIS and the SNBI implementation. So the National Bridge Inspection Standards and the specifications for the National Bridge Inventory. So I've got a few minutes to kind of give an introduction. I'm not going to be able to get into a lot of details, but I will let you know where you can go to get a lot more details. So here's a legal notice from our legal office. Except for any statutes or regulations cited, the content of this presentation do not have the force and effect of law and are not meant to bind the public in any way. This presentation is intended only to provide information to the public regarding existing requirements under the law or agency policies. The SNBI is incorporated by reference in the regulation, so take it with a grain of salt. So what I'm going to cover briefly is the NBIS implementation, some key dates that people will be interested in hearing about, implementation resources that are being developed and uploaded to our website, and then similarly for the specifications for the National Bridge Inventory, an anticipated implementation timeline, as well as additional resources that are under development and timeline for those being updated to our website. So let's start off with the NBIS implementation. So these are some of the key dates to keep in mind. May 6th of 2022 was when the NBIS final rule was published in the Federal Register. So that's the process of developing the rule. It gets posted in the Federal Register. That's considered published, and then it gets put into the Code of Federal Regulations and then put that through that process. So similar to other rulemaking processes, the NBIS became effective 30 days after it was published in the final rule. So June 6th of 2022 was when the NBIS final rule became effective. Now there are some additional key dates as we implement this new NBIS, and June 6th of 2024 is one of those kind of key dates where several specific sections of the NBIS are expected to be taking effect or implemented. For those of you that are involved with the annual NBIS compliance reviews that are performed by our division offices for each of the 50 DOTs across the country, this final compliance determination for calendar year 2022 will be based on the new regulation, obviously. You weren't able to implement it that quickly. So again, we're going to touch on these specific topics that are the 2024 of June 6th timeframe. So these take effect 24 months after the effective date of the NBIS. The effective date was June 6th. So these lists start off with the qualifications and training of the people identified, or the positions, the program manager, team leaders, and those team leaders that are involved with the non-redundant steel tension member inspections, formerly known as fracture critical members. The next area is federal highway approved alternate training. So there are a number of states out there that have their own comprehensive training that they deliver to cover the comprehensive training requirements under the current NBIS. Well, those will need to be updated by June 6th of 2024. As we move into the inspection aspects area, the routine underwater and non-redundant steel tension member inspections, the reduced interval criteria will come into play on June 6th of 2024. And then the last one there is the extended intervals that you may currently already have for your program. On June 6th of 2024, those will basically cease, and you will need to develop new inspection interval policies using method 1, method 2, or just following the regular ones. So for the NBIS implementation resources, if you can think of one thing, the bridge inspection website, that's going to be kind of our one-stop shopping to get everything you need to know about bridge inspection. So that's the first URL listed there. The next one is about the NBIS final rule itself. And then the 4 bullets under there, those are guidance documents that have been developed to support the implementation. One of those is just a combining of the NBIS and the SNBI implementation timeframes. That's a PDF that's available at the website. There is also a Federal Highway memo that goes into further information about the implementation of the SNBI, and also one on inspection intervals, which gets into the details of what NBI coding guide data you can use currently until you start capturing or collecting the SNBI data. There's also a memo for the inspection of non-redundant steel tension members that addresses the method for system redundancy and internal redundancy to maybe qualify a bridge that is currently a non-redundant steel tension member structure to one that is not and would not need that type of inspection. Additional guidance is still under development for the alternate training. I'm hoping that's going to be coming out shortly. It keeps saying shortly, but we certainly have some processes we have to follow and complete at our headquarters office. We also have a specific email address for questions and answers, and we expect that after we get all those vetted that we will be populating our website with some of those Q&As so that we can have a consistent voice in terms of addressing questions that come up. So this is the kind of the landing page, you might say, for bridge inspection. Here's where you can navigate to the other places. So in this case, the orange arrow is indicating if you want to find out more about the NBIS, that's where you go for NBIS information. Then you have an option to go look at the new NBIS, the 2022 version, or you can go look at the 2004 version, which also has a slight revision in 2009. Then once you get to the National Bridge Inspection Standards, here you'll find that additional information that we won't go into detail here, but a lot of information about the final rule. Here's the memos that we showed previously. Those are available in PDF to find that additional guidance that we're not covering in detail today. All right, let's move on to the SNBI implementation. Again, a note here that this document is incorporated by reference, as are some of the AASHTO documents, such as the Manual for Bridge Evaluation and the Manual for Bridge Element Inspection. So the anticipated timeline for the SNBI implementation, again, May 6th was the final rule. July was the publishing of data crosswalks. So what I can say is that Part 1 was posted at the end of July to our website. Part 2 was also posted shortly into August. So all the data crosswalk information is now posted at the Federal Highway website. It's available in HTML or in a spreadsheet format. The next major anticipated timeline is in October of 2022, and that is when we expect to publish a data submittal schema and the data submittal validation logic, which will be the initial version. Following that, in April of 2023, we're expecting to have a transition tool available that will take the existing NBI coding data and transition that into the SNBI data items and formats. That will be expected to be an online tool where agencies can run their data through it and make that transition data submittal. Moving on to October of 2024 is when we're looking at having the next generation of the National Bridge Inventory Database available online, but that will only be for data validation. We won't be accepting data at that point in time. 2025 is when we expect that the NBI coding guide format will be sunset, or that'll be the last submittal in that format. And January 2026 is when We consider this the last date to begin. You can start collecting information ahead of time, but this would be the last date to begin verification of transition data collection and new SNBI data. March 15th of 2026 is when we expect the first submittal of data. We expect that to be a kind of a transition or a hybrid mix of information based on taking the transition tool and then also having collected SNBI data. 2026 of June is when we expect to sunset the transition tool. We expect that will no longer be needed, with 2027 of March being the second SNBI submittal of data to Federal Highway. Again, somewhat of a transitioned or hybrid data set with agencies continuing to verify some of those transition codes. And the last one is 2028, March 15th. That's when we expect to have the third submittal where we'll have 100% populated and verified data using the SNBI. So again, similar implementation resources starting at the Bridge Inspection website. You'll find the actual PDF document of the SNBI, the memo implementation of it, which goes further into detail with the timeline. Again, I mentioned the data crosswalks are completed now and available at the website. And the next ones coming up are the data submittal schema, the submittal validation logic, and we're still working on some Q&As. To go along with this, there's some other activities going on in terms of presentations, kind of like this one. We are updating the Bridge Inspector's reference manual. That currently is underway, hoping to wrap up by the end of the calendar year. We're also updating our suite of bridge inspection related courses based on the new SNBI. And we are in the process of developing SNBI training that we're looking to move that out in modules and hopefully to do some webinars on that to get information out as quickly as I can. But if you have ideas for what training you think you might need, catch me sometime at a break and share your thoughts with me. So similarly from the Bridge Inspection landing page, you can go to the NBI, the National Bridge Inventory. You can choose between the coding guide or the SNBI to look at information. If you look at the SNBI, you'll have a web page here for further information. So again, the data crosswalks are up and running now with HTML or in a spreadsheet format. And then it also identifies the upcoming guidance and support tools that are being developed. We do have a formal question and answer email. We have over 100 questions that have been submitted. If you don't happen to remember the email address, there's some cards, business cards that were made over here by headquarters to help remind you of the process we're going through. So if you want to submit a formal question that way, it's a good idea. Others may have a similar question that we get answered, and then hopefully we plan to have those uploaded to the website. So that's my quick introduction to get the panel all fired up for further discussions, and thank you for your time.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.